Born Thomas John Woodward on June 7, 1940, in the industrial Welsh town of Pontypridd, Tom Jones grew up surrounded by coal dust, close-knit families, and the quiet resilience of working-class life. Music arrived early for him, not as a career plan, but as an instinct. Even as a boy, his voice carried unusual power, filling family gatherings and local halls with a depth far beyond his years. His childhood was not easy. A long battle with tuberculosis forced him out of school and into long periods of isolation, where listening to radio singers became both comfort and inspiration. By his mid-teens, responsibility came quickly. Married young and already a father, Jones worked demanding manual jobs to support his family, never imagining global fame. Yet even while laboring in factories and construction sites, he sang wherever he could, driven by something deeper than ambition. Those early struggles didn't harden him, they grounded him. The voice that would later shake stadiums was shaped first by hardship, humility, and an unshakable love of song. The night everything changed. In 1965, Tom Jones's life changed almost overnight with the release of It's Not Unusual. The song exploded onto radios with its swinging brass and infectious rhythm, but it was Jones's commanding vocal presence that made it unforgettable. Suddenly, the young Welsh laborer was a global sensation. Chart success followed rapidly with songs like What's New Pussycat, Green, Green Grass of Home, Delilah, and She's a Lady, turning him into a household name across continents. Yet what truly set Jones apart wasn't just the hits. It was his ability to make every song feel lived in and personal. Audiences didn't just hear him, they felt him. His voice bridged pop, soul, and country with ease, defying neat categories. Fame arrived fast, but Jones carried himself with an old-world professionalism, shaped by years of real responsibility. Even at the height of his early success, he spoke often about gratitude, for his roots, for his audience, and for the chance to sing for a living. Stardom didn't erase where he came from, it amplified it. The performer who owned the stage. Tom Jones didn't merely perform, he commanded. His live shows in the late 1960s and 1970s became legendary, driven by raw energy, confidence, and an unmistakable connection with audiences. On stage, he was fearless, blending physicality with vocal precision in a way few performers could match. His Las Vegas residencies turned him into a symbol of excess and excellence at once, drawing celebrities, royalty, and devoted fans night after night. Yet behind the spectacle was relentless discipline. Jones treated his voice like an athlete treats muscle, maintaining stamina through demanding schedules that would exhaust most singers half his age. What audiences saw as effortless charisma was, in truth, hard-earned control. He understood the power of showmanship, but never let it overshadow the song itself. Whether delivering a tender ballad or a roaring anthem, he remained present, focused, and emotionally engaged. That balance, between swagger and sincerity, cemented his reputation as one of the most compelling live performers of his generation. A life beyond one sound. Unlike many artists defined by a single era, Tom Jones refused to stand still. Over decades, he explored gospel, soul, R&B, country, blues, and rock, not as experiments but as genuine expressions of his musical curiosity. His collaborations reflected that openness, spanning generations and genres. In 1988, his bold reinterpretation of Kiss introduced him to a younger audience, proving reinvention wasn't a betrayal of legacy, but a continuation of it. Later albums stripped away gloss and leaned into rawness, allowing age to deepen rather than diminish his sound. Critics who once underestimated him began reassessing his place in music history, recognizing the technical mastery and emotional weight of his performances. Jones welcomed this late-career renaissance with humility, often saying that singing had become more meaningful as life taught him harder lessons. His voice, weathered and resonant, carried stories only time could write. Reinvention didn't keep him relevant. Honesty did. Love, loss, and private strength. At the center of Tom Jones's life stood his wife, Linda, whom he married as a teenager and remained devoted to for nearly 6 decades. Their relationship, forged long before fame, endured extraordinary pressures that came with global celebrity. Linda chose privacy over public attention, becoming a quiet but essential anchor in Jones's life. He has often credited her strength for keeping him grounded during years of constant travel and temptation. When she passed away in 2016 after a long illness, the loss profoundly changed him. Jones sold their longtime home and returned to the UK, honoring her wishes and marking a deeply personal turning point. Grief softened his public persona, revealing a reflective, vulnerable side that resonated strongly with audiences. Music became both refuge and remembrance. On stage, he sang with new emotional depth, carrying not just experience, but absence. Love, once a constant presence, became a memory. And in that memory, his voice found a new kind of truth. Fame and its complicated cost. Tom Jones has never pretended that fame came without consequence. In later years, he has spoken more thoughtfully about the pressures, temptations, and excesses that surrounded his rise. Rather than glamorizing that era, he reflects on it with honesty and restraint, acknowledging mistakes without dwelling on scandal. He has emphasized that the culture of celebrity in the 1960s and 70s often blurred boundaries and rewarded excess, leaving little room for reflection or accountability. Time, he says, brings clarity. As perspectives shift, so does understanding of responsibility, power, and behavior. Jones has chosen to focus not on defending the past, but on learning from it. His later life reflects that shift, quieter, more introspective, and centered on music rather than image. By acknowledging complexity without sensationalism, he offers something rare, a portrait of fame that neither condemns nor celebrates blindly, but simply tells the truth as he now understands it. A brotherhood with Elvis Presley. Among the many friendships that shaped Tom Jones's life, none carried more emotional weight than his bond with Elvis Presley. They met during a period when both were navigating immense fame, and what began as admiration quickly became kinship. Jones has described Elvis not as a rival, but as a brother, warm, curious, generous, and deeply human. Away from the spotlight, they shared conversations about music, family, faith, and the strange loneliness that often accompanies adoration. Jones recalls nights filled with laughter, impromptu gospel singing, and sincere reflection. Yet he also witnessed Elvis's growing isolation and declining health, something he rarely spoke about publicly for decades. Now, with the distance of time, Jones reflects not with judgment, but with sadness. He has said that Elvis was surrounded by expectation, but starved for simplicity. Their friendship left a permanent mark on him, teaching him both the beauty of connection and the danger of losing oneself inside a legend, witnessing a legend fade. As Elvis Presley's health deteriorated in the 1970s, Tom Jones found himself in the painful position of watching someone he loved struggle. He has spoken gently about those final meetings, recalling a man weighed down not just physically, but emotionally. Jones admits he often wondered whether he could have done more, said more, intervened more forcefully. But fame creates walls as well as opportunities, and concern can feel like intrusion. When Elvis died in 1977, Jones was deeply shaken. He canceled performances and grieved privately, processing a loss that felt intensely personal. In later reflections, he has emphasized that Elvis's story should be remembered with compassion rather than judgment. Behind the spectacle was a man who loved music, generosity, and connection. By speaking honestly now, Jones hopes to humanize Elvis, not diminish him. In telling that truth, he honors the friend he knew, not just the icon the world remembers. Truth as the final legacy now. In his mid-80s, Sir Tom Jones continues to perform, mentor, and reflect with remarkable clarity. His later years have been defined not by retreat, but by purpose, sharing what he's learned with younger artists and audiences alike. Serving as a mentor on The Voice UK, he brings warmth, humility, and deep respect for the craft of singing. His recent albums are quieter, more contemplative, yet profoundly powerful. Looking back, Jones believes that truth, not perfection, is the most meaningful legacy an artist can leave behind. Fame fades, myths unravel, but honesty endures. By speaking openly about love, loss, friendship, and regret, he offers something far more valuable than legend: perspective. Each time he steps on stage, his voice carries decades of lived experience, shaped by joy and sorrow alike. At 85, Tom Jones doesn't sing to impress. He sings to tell the truth, and that, perhaps, is why his voice still matters.